Hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is June 23rd, Thursday when I'm recording this, and I've been talking about the last few newsletters that I've had that have been really showing some good stuff in the market as far as getting the right side of the trades and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we did see a bounce, but for now it's into resistance. And you guys, if you want to come over here and check out the video that I showed, I'll talk about it here in this thing too, but it looks like we've run into some resistance. And if the market's going to move up generally next week, then we're probably going to need to see the market hammer out a bottom, which means we're probably going to oscillate a little bit where we are currently. So let's get into that, and I'll show you guys some of the things I'm looking at. So we go first with the SPY. I've got a whole list here that we can go through, and if we kind of come, well, this'll do for now, because the issue that I'm seeing is that yes, we were very oversold. You can see big gap between price and the daily 8 EMA. You can see third ATR, all that kind of stuff. And so we finally bounced. But the problem is we're bouncing up into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. Those are conflicting angles. You gotta, what is the purpose of a moving average? Well, it's to tell you what the general trend is, and price trending up across a downtrending moving average is a bit of a conflicting angles. Add to that the Moxie indicator is below zero, and I'm basically thinking that we're probably going to see price come back down here some way, somehow, in order to kind of hammer out a bottom in through that. I know that it might be a little bit misleading to think that price is going to be pulling back and holding the hourly 50 right now. It could, but I don't think that it's going to. The fact that the Moxie indicator is still below zero tells me that this should not be this setup right here, and that probably will get a move down a little bit further. One way that I was looking at that is if we look at Crowd and we just go back, and just to show you this, Crowd on the daily chart was very similar to what the S&P is doing, very oversold, down there, and it did eventually make its way back up here. But how did it do that? Well, if you look at the hourly chart, you can see that initially got rejected by the underside of a downtrend hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. Same thing with the S&P. Then you could look a little bit later and look here. It looked kind of like what we see now, that price is over the hourly 50, and you might look at that and say, oh, well, looks to me like price is going to hold the hourly 50, just like the S&P. But what happened? You got one more move down. Ultimately, you look at that and you say, oh, that was hammering out a bottom, and notice that the Moxie indicator kept trending upward. That was your positive divergence. So, and you can see there's the Moxie price trigger, and then that's when you had the move. So that all worked out pretty nicely. And I don't know if it's going to happen exactly like that, but I think it gives a good idea as to kind of what to expect with the S&P currently. And that when I say hammering out a bottom, it's kind of doing something like this. We don't know how long it's going to take, whatever. And then, I did mention that typically going into the 4th of July holiday, the markets are bullish. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be like big bullish like this. Well, the market could also just not fall apart and maybe kind of end on a up note. So I'm trying to look a little bit bullish going into or sometime next week, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time in order to set up for that. And I think that in the meantime, there are opportunities to the downside, which have been working out for us. And overall, this market is pretty weak. So even if what I've been seeing is that even though the market might move up, it's basically just kind of oscillations or bumps in the road of other tickers that are just continually moving down. So the trend overall is just down. All right, so let me just show you about the UVXY. And the one thing I'm looking at in through here, say on the daily chart, we kind of, coming through here, is that there is a bit of a trend line like this. And you can see that, yes, the trend line works, but also the daily 200 is working. And then there's a bit of a trend line here on the lower part. And so if you extrapolate that, we're starting to get a bit of a wedge, pennant, something like that. And as price on the UVXY kind of ping-pongs in through here and gets tighter, 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 eventually it's going to break out one way or the other. I think it's going to break out to the upside, but we don't know when, and we don't know how much further down it might need to cycle in order to do that. So I don't know about timing, just kind of making this portion up. But if this thing were to trend down going into the 4th of July weekend, which means the market would be bullish, that might get us back to the low area, and that might set us up for the next move to the upside. Just kind of speculating on that one, but it's something to kind of think about and keep in mind. The NASDAQ, if we talk about this, it's basically the same thing as the S&P. I'm looking at this and seeing that price over the hourly 50, the Moxie indicator is still lagging. Kind of in a similar way like this. Price got over the 50, the Moxie indicator was below 0. And you can see how it had to come back down here, hammer out more of a bottom before it could go up like that. So I'm just kind of thinking it's going to take a little bit more work before this thing can go up. And if we look at the IWM, kind of the same thing. And also keep in mind that while I'm saying we could be looking for an up move, it may not be up. It could just be a sideways bear flag until we roll over further. Like, it could do that. But that's just kind of what we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. IWM, price running right into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50, Moxie indicator still below 0. So again, not really seeing much bullishness, just seeing a reversion to the mean. Things are looking really oversold, and they look like they need to go higher before they can go lower, and so we're just trying to see if that is going to actually be happening. And then we come over here and we talk about, say, USO and oil and commodities. Now, the other thing I've been talking about quite a bit, and I think some other traders out there talk about this, that oil and commodities rolling over is probably the sign or the beginning of the market really struggling. Of course, we know the market's been struggling, but the next major serious leg down is probably going to be from the commodities wearing out and just not going up anymore. So we've seen that with oil. Like USO, that's a big break. That is a big deal because we had this really big consolidation right in here. And we got a breakout, and now look, price is right back to where it began. So that is not strong. Something is seriously going on, and that looks to me like that was a bit of a blow off top. And I think we need to really take that into account and be aware of what it's trying to communicate to us. Now, of course, there might be some sort of reaction rally just because price at this point could be really oversold and price could be back here to where there's a lot of price support or congestion or activity. And, we might get a bounce. So watch for that. I wouldn't short it here. I would be looking for a bounce. And if that bounce ends up being in a shortable position, then you might want to be aware of that. And if that is in a shortable position, then rolls over and dies, then that could really spell some doom for the market as a whole. I'll keep getting into more commodities. If you look at CVX, Chevron, I mean, this is serious. That is a serious move to the downside. All right. We saw this price was trying to go up. Moxie indicator was super far down. You can see price up and then Moxie up and then down. And that was what started it. Yeah, just really rough. And the fact that it's all the way down here, major, major sign of what's going on. Now, some people are saying, oh, this shows that inflation pressure is coming off. Okay, that might be the case. Maybe inflation is peaked or maybe it's slowing down or whatever. We don't have any proof of that yet, but maybe that's something that's happening. And if it's happening, does that mean the market's going to be great? And we're going to say, oh, if inflation is on its way down, now we're good. Market can go back up and, everything's fine. I'm not so sure that's the case. I'm kind of thinking it's a little bit more that if inflation's coming down or demand is coming down is because not just that they're expensive, but because there's a global slowdown, there's a recession, there's contraction, something's going on out there that all of this supply demand stuff, the demand is starting to shrink. And that's good. That is what the government wanted, and that's kind of what we need in order to stop inflation and all this other kind of stuff. But I think that just because inflation starts to go down does not necessarily mean that we're going to be coming out of this unscathed. I think that inflation is going to come down and this demand is coming down because things are slowing down out there and we're going into a global recession of some sort. So that's my take. And if we look at Oxy, just more examples. I know Warren Buffett was in this one, but price up, Moxie indicator down, and then really red. And then you can see there's the Moxie price trigger to the downside. And then it hit that third ATR right there, which was the tip. And now we got the Moxie indicator significantly below 0 on Oxy. You can see KMI is another one, a serious move down. I mean, that is just opening the floodgates and getting out. Just hit the eject button, get out of there, and that is a huge move. I mean, look how long that was going up, and it all got wiped out in a matter of days, okay? Serious stuff is going on out there, and be aware of it. ALTO, I kind of zoom out a little bit. It's not the best chart, but this one, I was looking at shorting it right there. I think it was like a 20% move, roughly. And then you can see price basically running into the underside of the daily 50, Moxie indicator below 0. So Alto, that one's going down. And then ADM is another one. This one was pretty clean. You can see Here's the Moxie price trigger. Here's price getting rejected by the underside of the daily 50. And then basically kind of a topping pattern right here, Moxie indicator up and then break down. And then right there, there's your Moxie price trigger. So yeah, major moves to the downside. And I think we just keep seeing destruction out there. You know, it's just a matter of time until it looks like everything is going to get pulled down. So do what you need to do in order to protect yourself and accommodate that. UNG, you know, we look at natural gas. Huge break in a one-day situation, bounced just a little bit and then continued to melt down. Was at the 30 ATR, still at the 30 ATR, and yeah, looking really rough. Maybe there's a bounce, but this is looking pretty bad. That move up and now that move down. Again, serious stuff that's going on out there. That's natural gas. And then let's see if we get into some of the agriculture, because this is another way of seeing what's going on out there as far as our supply chains or demand and inflation and slowdowns and recessions. So here is the Moxie price trigger right there on the daily chart. And I was looking at this, you know, they don't trade these things, but I was aware that even though price kept trying to, you know, just trying to move up and up and up like that, look what the Moxie indicator was doing. Down, 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 down. You know, it really is trying to say something to you. It's trying to bring this to your attention and say, hey, something's going on. We could say maybe there's a overall double top right in through there, and then you can see there's the Moxie price trigger, and then price got rejected by the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. So right there, and that is a bearish signal, and then boom, just rolled over super hard. Wheat, another one that we can kind of look at through here, you know, had its heyday, no pun intended, and you can see double top, third ATR, Moxie price trigger, and then the move with this one started with an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. There you go, inverse trampoline move. And that's what then let price drop and fall off of the daily 50. So big move to the downside on that one with wheat. And then let's see, corn, take a look at that one. And in through here, you can see there's the Moxie price trigger. So that made for an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. You could even see here, price up, Moxie indicator down, also an inverse trampoline move. Then you could see this was an inverse trampoline move. And then you got a little bit of a move up, but that was a fail right there because of the daily inverse trampoline move, and it just failed right there through the hourly 50. So you got to have your stops someplace. But corn getting hit, getting real hard, moving on down like that. And then moo, this is agribusiness, you know, so kind of seeing some stuff. You can see kind of just trying to move up, had a bit of a spurt, and then rolled over again. So what does that look like? Well, here on the hourly chart at the very peak, that was an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. And then you can see rolled down, moved up, and price ran right into the underside of a downtrending daily 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0. And once that happened, you can see here underneath the hourly 50, and then continued to get rejected by the underside of a downtrending hourly 50. So that one, big stuff going on there. And then AGCO, another one I'm just kind of looking at. It's been looking pretty rough for a while, but near term, what I wanted to show you guys is there's your Moxie price trigger, but then here is an inverse trampoline move. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. And up and up and up and up, broke, and then just, you know, it's like chutes and ladders all the way down. You can also see this was an inverse trampoline move, and this was an inverse trampoline move right there. So that's what that looked like. And that was AGCO. And then let's see, another one, AGRO. And this one in through here, what we're looking at, there's the Moxie price trigger, but then price came up and got rejected by the underside of the daily 50. Again, Moxie indicator below 0. And then in through here, kind of, you know, double top, I suppose, right there. Started break through the break underneath the hourly 50, and then basically flagged sideways into the underside of a downtrending hourly 50 Moxie price trigger, and just totally red right in through there. So yeah, big moves to the downside in commodities. So we got that, and then one of the other areas that I've kind of been looking at, China. So KWEB. If we look at this one now, let me get over here and we'll look at something real quick, because I want to show you on, say, the weekly. Yeah, so we'll do the weekly and daily, and we do KWEB on through this one. And the thing that I'm seeing that even if, and I know people are talking a lot about the Chinese stocks and maybe being bullish, and I know they're lowering their interest rates, so they're trying to do quantitative easing. And so they got a little bit of bullishness. Well, and you could say there's a double bottom, positive, sure, all that kind of stuff. Now, so even if this was a bullish chart, even if we were looking to go long on Chinese stocks, names, all that kind of stuff, this is what I would call the arch of the foot. So we got the leg, we got the heel, we got the arch of the foot. And so generally, if this is right, then from the arch of the foot means we need to come back down and retest the low area. We don't know where. We don't know if it's shallow, equal, or lower. But retest the low area somewhere, and if it holds, if it confirms to be bullish, then we can get a move back up there. So what that's telling me is that I believe that right in through here is about the top of the Chinese market for what I'm seeing, and we're looking for a pullback. Now, will that pullback be into strength, or is this it and there's another big move lower? I'm not sure about that yet, but I do see some opportunities in order to start shorting right around here for the idea that price is going to move down a little bit, something for me to take advantage of. The other thing I'm seeing that with the daily chart is that there's a gap here between price and the daily 50. So again, I think that's a reason, or at least an opportunity, that price can move from here to at least the daily 50 and probably lower. Just my thought. It could probably go below the daily 50. So with that in mind, the things I'm doing to take advantage of that. So one of them, let's see, PDD. And I'm looking at this short, mostly because of the 50, 250 maneuver, and kind of seeing price topping out right there on the hourly chart. Another one, EDU, just kind of looking through here, yes, big move, great, love it. But you know what? I think it's probably topped out, and we are short, very, very oversold. 50, 250 maneuver, so we should see that thing come back down. And that should be some nice percentages. So yeah, Chinese stocks, Chinese names, I kind of think that they're done. They need to move down a little bit. All right, so we got that. VSTO, here's some other names. This is more like the retail sector. And yeah, we just cashed in a little bit more on this one, about 25%. And you can see here, it is just running that third ATR. It tends, if this market doesn't totally implode right here, then we should be seeing some sort of bounce with VSTO. This is what's been happening, is that they tend to run it and then they bounce, and then they run it and then they bounce. Now, of course, it could be shortable sometime after that, but it seems to me it's likely that something's probably going to be bounced. And if it does bounce, then we can short it again at that point. So that's VSTO. Nice move on the downside for us with that one. DXLG, another one in kind of that space. And you can see that this is probably going to break lower. I have a feeling, it's doing it. We're short, we're profitable. And now it's really just a question of where does it go and how long does it take? And of course, there might be bounces along the way that we can add and drops that we can cash in on. But yeah, that looks like a good name for the short side, DXLG. And then Boot. Been kind of a long time with this one. And we are, again, profitable with this one. We took a short here. And then, bounced here, kind of like what I was saying with VSTO, down at the 30 ATR, very oversold, bounced, and then ran right into the underside of a downtrending daily 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0, and down it goes again. Of course, maybe some bounces, some flags somewhere in here, but I think that the overall path for this stuff is going to be lower and much lower, and so we're just hanging on to it and having a good time with it. All right, everybody, well, that pretty much takes me to the end of this. I hope you're doing well out there. Yes, the market is still moving, but I got some things to do this afternoon, so I needed to make an earlier one, and I think this kind of gives a good basic update for what's going on out there. So I'll see you guys next week.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.